My best friend always projects her insecurities onto me. Should I break up with her? My best friend and I have known each other for exactly 2 years. We met in college and hit it off right away. We're both Latinas and we come from really big families. I have 2 other sisters and we get along really well. We always hype each other up and have each other's backs. A few months after I started my friendship with my best friend, let's call her Lucia. Lucia started showing some really toxic qualities. Sometimes I think I'm just reading too much into it or overreacting. So you let me know. First of all, she would start talking bad about my sisters in front of me. She would make comments like, wow, your sister's gained weight, or wow, your sister has cellulite. When she first did this, I would just defend my sisters, but then I realized that just made her want to keep talking more trash. So if she ever said anything about my sisters, I wouldn't say anything. At the time our friendship started, I had a really big crush on this guy. He and I went to the same gym and I never had the courage to speak to him, not until my sister convinced me to. I finally spoke to him at the gym and we actually hit it off. We would work out together every now and then and he finally asked me out on a date. The day of our date, my best friend came over to my house, and while I was getting ready, she started saying really weird things. At first, she told me that I should wash my hair because it looked oily. I told her my hair was freshly washed. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I could see her reflection and she just rolled her eyes at me. This is when things started clicking. Part 2 is my best friend projects her insecurities on me. Should I break up with her? I could see through the mirror that she had rolled her eyes at me. Then she started making other comments about my appearance. Mind you, I'm getting ready for a date. When I showed her the outfit that I was gonna wear, she said it was too revealing and that I would probably scare him off. It wasn't even revealing, it just showed my legs. It was a cute sundress with a cardigan on top. I told her I thought I looked cute. And then she said, "Allá tu amiga." As I'm finishing up my hair and my makeup, she says, "Wow, you're gonna wear that much makeup?" But the way she said it was so aggressive, I actually took off the lipstick I was wearing. Instead, I just put on lip balm. I looked at her and she had a smile on her face. It was like she was happy she finally got to me. The date went really well and he actually turned into my boyfriend a few weeks later. And guess what? My best friend started judging everything about him. The first time she met him, she started saying, "Wow, I think he's balding," which he isn't. And even if he was, I wouldn't care. She also started making comments about him staring at other girls, something I never even noticed that he did, and I would know I'm with him all the time. It's like she was trying to plant all these insecurities in my head. One day, Lucia and my boyfriend and I are in his car. We were heading to the movie theaters when Lucia says, "Wow, you put on way too much perfume. It's giving me a headache." That's when my boyfriend told her that if it bothered her that much, she should just go home. And out of nowhere, Lucia swung her fist at him. She actually tried to attack him. Part 3 is up. My best friend always projects her insecurities on me. Should I break up with her? That's when she started swinging at my boyfriend. Luckily, I yelled at her and she stopped. It's like she was upset at me for yelling at her for trying to hit my boyfriend. That's when my boyfriend kicked her out of the car and I asked him to calm down. I got out of the car with Lucia and asked her to calm down. That's when she told me that I needed to break up with him and that he was clearly abusive. I told her he was just defending me. Then she said, "He doesn't need to defend you. I'm only saying this because I care about you." Then she called herself an Uber and left. My boyfriend and I went to the movie theaters and we had a really nice night. Here's some more examples of her projecting on me. While we were getting ready for a friend's birthday party, she started pointing out some stuff on my body. She said, "Your elbows are really dark. You need to fix that." Another time I decided to get some highlights and she said they looked horrible on me. She said I looked like a JLo wannabe. Luckily, I didn't care and I just kept the highlights. Mind you, 2 months later, she got the exact same highlights. Now, I know that she cares about me because she does have my back. She'll help me with anything I need, honestly. And I wonder if I'm overreacting, but I don't think so. I just don't know how to tell her that she's toxic. She makes me feel bad. What should I do? Storytime about how I found out my sugar daddy was stalking me. Disclaimer, this is not my storytime. It was sent to me on Instagram. I signed up to a sugar daddy website last year. I lost my job because of COVID. Just started my own small business and things were not going well. I also helped my parents out with money because I didn't want them to be working during COVID. I signed up to a website and instantly I started getting messages. One man stood out because he was very active and owned several businesses. I told him I didn't want to meet up because I just wasn't going to do that, but also because of COVID. He agreed to have a phone conversation with me and then eventually he offered me $5,000 a month. This was more than enough to help me and my parents out. After that, I was basically his online companion. He would text me and I would text back. We went out to dinner a few times, but because of COVID, we kept our distance. It was truly the perfect scenario for me. Then I noticed that he started to get really clingy. If I didn't text him back right away, he would get upset. One day I got another message from the sugar daddy website. Another man was asking me to go out to dinner twice a week, and he wanted to pay me $1,000 for this. So I said, of course. When I told sugar daddy number 1 that I'd be busy 2 days out of the week, he got really mad and asked me where I lived. I told him I couldn't tell him. Part 2. That's when my sugar daddy asked me where I lived. I was not about to tell him where I lived. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I told him I couldn't tell him. And he got really upset and offered me $2,000 more, which means that he would be paying me $7,000 a month. Then he said that he didn't want me to be with any other sugar daddies. At this point, I hadn't even told him that I was approached by another sugar daddy. So how did he know that I was talking to another one? I accepted his offer of $7,000 a month, but this only made him even worse. He would call me all the time and ask me where I was, and he would constantly ask me where I lived. He noticed the change in me, and that's when he offered to buy me a car, a Mercedes to be exact. I didn't know if I should accept or not because I knew it would make him feel like he had more ownership over me. I told him that I wasn't sure if I should accept the car because of his behavior. Then he said that he would buy me my own apartment. I felt really creeped out, so I decided not to answer his phones or his messages the rest of the night. 2 hours later, I'm laying in bed and I hear a really hard knock at my door. It was him. Part 3. My sugar daddy starts banging on my front door. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. And he didn't know where I lived. I looked through the peephole and I tell him to leave. That's when he shows me a wad of cash. He tells me I can keep it with no strings attached. I said no, and that's when he started calling me names. He started yelling really loud. I was hoping my neighbors would hear and call the cops. In order to calm him down, I opened the door and I let him in. Big mistake. He asked to use my bathroom, and that's when I grabbed his phone. I saw on his camera roll that he had pictures and video of me. He'd been following me around for months. I started calling the cops, but that's when he came out of the bathroom. Asked if he could stay over, and I said yes. I was so scared. We're supposed to have dinner tonight. The cops said they can't help because he hasn't. Part 4. I checked my sugar daddy's cell phone. There were so many pictures and videos of me, which means he had been following me around for months. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I told him I was sick and he had to sleep on the couch. The following day, he left my apartment really early, so I called the police and I told them everything. They told me they can't do anything because he hasn't physically hurt me yet. My sugar daddy asked me out for dinner and I had to say yes, just to act like everything was normal. At dinner, he acted completely normal, like he hadn't showed up to my apartment the night before and yelled at me. That's when he offered me more money and the new apartment again. I told him I just couldn't accept it. Then I confronted him about the pictures and video on his cell phone. Of course, he denied everything. I asked to see his phone and he handed it to me. And of course, he had deleted all the evidence. So now it's just my word against his. Then he handed me keys to my new car. It's a beautiful car. I don't even know if I should accept it or not. Should I get a restraining order? I don't know what. Story time about how I caught my dad doing the dirty with my best friend. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My mom and dad have been married for 30 years. My dad started modeling when he was really young, and he still does it to this day. Every single time that I would bring a friend over to my house, they would always talk about how cute my dad is. It never annoyed me at all because I was so proud of my dad, but it really bothered my mom. So out of respect for my mom, I would just tell my friends not to say anything. My mom is definitely the jealous type. My best friend and I have known each other for about 3 years. She was the new girl at school and we became friends, and ever since then we've been inseparable. She always comes over to my house, we have sleepovers, and my family really likes her. My mom even takes her shopping with us and buys her tons of stuff. She always comes with us to get manicures and pedicures and facials as well. A few years ago, my mom told me that my dad was unfaithful to her and it really upset me. Basically, my mom couldn't trust him at all. And ever since then, I've kept an eye on him as well. One day I came home early from work. I see my best friend sitting on the couch with my dad. She was kissing his neck. When they saw me, they got up from the couch. I see my best friend kissing my dad on the neck. And when they both saw me, they jumped off the couch right away. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My best friend said, "Oh, you're finally home." And my dad literally just walked toward the kitchen like nothing had happened. My best friend walks toward me to give me a hug, but I stop her straight in her tracks. I asked her why she was kissing my dad's neck. She laughs and said, "Of course I wasn't." And then I said, "I just saw it." And she said that she was just thanking him for all the stuff my mom and dad do for her. Right, I was not buying it. My dad didn't even look me in the eyes after that. I decided not to question her any further, but I was really angry with my best friend. After that, I was totally convinced that there was something going on between them. So I decided to set a trap. I told my mom and dad I would be at work all day and that I would be home really late. And I told my best friend the same thing and that I wouldn't be able to hang out with her. I knew that my mom would be at work all day, which meant that my dad had the house all to himself. I said bye to my dad, but I sneaked back into the house and hid in my room all day. Then I started hearing voices. It sounded just like my best friend. I opened my dad's bedroom door and there they are on the bed doing the dirty. Disgusting. Part 3. I walk in on my dad and my best friend doing the dirty. They had no clothes on and they were doing it in my mom's bed. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. Because I am so intelligent, I recorded the whole thing on my phone. My father had the audacity to yell at me and tell me to get out of the room. I said no way. Best friend starts dressing herself frantically, begging me for forgiveness. Then my dad tells her to keep her mouth shut. Well, I don't hesitate for 1 second and I send my mom the video that I just recorded. My dad pulls the phone away from me and throws it at the wall. Then he starts trying to negotiate with me. He said, "If you don't tell your mom, I will never do this again, I promise." I told my best friend to go downstairs and wait for me on the couch. My dad starts putting on his clothes and by the time he's done, my mom is home. Of course, my mom went off on my best friend telling her how ungrateful she was. She asked my dad for a divorce. A few days later, I get a message from another friend. She tells me that she also did that with my dad. Since then, 4 other women have told me the same thing. They all go to college with me, so none of them are underage, thank God. My dad is begging my mom back, but she doesn't know what to do. We're both just in shock. Story time about when my best friend set me up to get sexually assaulted. Little background. I got bullied a lot in school because girls are just mean, and boys too. I also did modeling and acting, so kids were really mean about it. I didn't have any girlfriends. I mostly hung out with my twin brother and all of his friends who were super nice to me. Let's call her Anna. Anna was the mean girl. Everyone wanted to be in her good graces, so people would just do what she told them to do. She was funny and she was pretty much friends with everyone. She eventually befriended me. Things were going just great at the beginning, but then rumors started. I didn't know who started them, but I definitely didn't think it was Anna. I went over to Anna's house one night and she was really mean, and I'll do another story time about that. But a few weeks later, she invited me to a party. I show up and it was definitely not a party. It was only a few people. I knew 2 of the girls that were there, but the rest were total strangers to me. She tells all of us to go to her garage. But once we got there, she tells everyone to run out and she locks me inside the garage with this random guy that I don't know. Then he starts trying to kiss me and grab at me. Part 2 is up. Then he tries to kiss me and starts grabbing at me. I pushed him away, ran to the door, and started pounding on it. Well, guess what? I could hear Anna and the rest of her little friends laughing. I begged her to let me out, and she said, but he likes you. He just wants to get to know you. And then they laughed some more. And the guy told me that he liked me and that he's noticed me around school, but that he never got the chance to talk to me. That's when I tell him, but you don't know me and you're trying to kiss me. Then he said that Anna told him that I liked him. I told him I had never even seen him before. Then I started yelling really loud and pounding on the door. Anna opens the door and tells me to shut up because her mom is gonna hear. They just kept laughing. I run to the phone and tell my mom to pick me up. I did not have the courage to tell my mom. I confronted Anna and asked her why she did that. She said I was exaggerating and that they were just trying to have some fun. The following week I'm in class and I can hear Anna telling a group of girls what had happened. And she was talking loud enough so that I could hear it. Told them that she planned the whole thing and that I fell for it. And worst of all, she started telling everyone that I lost my V card. Part 3 is up. She told everyone in school that I lost my V card all thanks to her. I also overheard her saying that I was so stupid for having fallen for a little plan. Then a girl from my class comes up to me and starts telling me that Anna was talking to some boys asking them to make anonymous phone calls to my house. When I got home that day, I got a bunch of phone calls. I answered the phone and a boy on the other end said that he was going to do terrible things to me and that he knew where I lived. I started getting weird notes in my locker. Anna would start talking bad about me right in front of me, loud enough so that I could hear, and other people in class would laugh. That's when I decided that I needed to call her mom and tell her everything. I started by talking to Anna's sister. I told her everything and she told me she wasn't surprised. Later that day, I called her house and her sister made sure to answer the phone. I told Anna's mom everything. She made Anna call me to apologize, and I could just hear it in her voice how much she hated it. I asked her why she didn't like me and she really didn't have an answer. Anna actually started following me on Instagram and sent me a DM back in 2018. I didn't answer. I think she's working at a call center now or something like that.
Storytime about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade, and we're gonna call my boyfriend Alex. Alex and I had been together for 6 months, and at the beginning of our relationship, his best friend, who we're gonna call Caleb, him and I literally despised each other. But Alex would always want all 3 of us to hang out, so we decided that we had to get along. So we decided to keep it civil only when we were with Alex. Well, fast forward, all of a sudden, Caleb's grown-ass sister starts hanging out with Caleb and Alex 24/7. And it was weird because she was like a senior hanging out with a freshman. But I didn't think anything of it at first. Well, then, out of nowhere, while I was at school, like a week later, Alex says that him and I need to have a talk. So we start walking away from Caleb, and as we're walking away, Caleb looks at me and gives me, like, this good luck look. Then he told me that he wanted us to take a break. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So like I said, he tells me that we need to talk, and then he goes, I think we should take a break. Like, what do you mean, take a break? Well, funny thing, throughout this whole break, he was still being touchy with me, still acting like we were in a whole-ass relationship. And the whole time, I was acting like I was fine, so that way I didn't want him to feel bad for me and felt like he had to get back together with me. And he was acting like nothing happened. Like I said, it was getting to the point where all my friends had started asking if him and I were back together. And I had to be like, no, we're not back together yet. Well, then Friday rolls around, aka 2 weeks later, and he tells me that he misses me. Shocker. So then he said he wanted to get back together. I said yes, obviously, because I still really liked him and I was a dumbass not to see the red flags. Well, now that it was second time around of us being together, I started to notice the first flags that I didn't notice in the beginning of our relationship. Like the one time he went to the mall with his friends and he gave these girls his Snapchat. He wasn't going to tell me about it, but then his friends told me, like for part 3. Part 3 about how my boyfriend cheated on me with his best friend's sister. So like I said, I started noticing red flags. Well, when I had confronted him about the Snapchat thing, he told me that he felt bad if he didn't give it to them because he didn't want to be mean. Another red flag is that he would never, ever, 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 ever let me touch his phone. Like if he even saw my eyes look at his phone for 0.2 seconds, he would grab it real quick. Anyways, back to him getting with Caleb's sister. When we had got back together after our break, this one girl came up to me and she was like, hey, I have to tell you something. I didn't think it was going to be anything about my relationship with Alex, but here we go. She goes, he broke up with you to hook up with some other girl. So obviously I'm fuming. I go up to him and I'm like, did you break up with me to go and hook up with another girl? He goes, that's in the past. Why are you mad about it? Like we were broken up. Clearly he thought it was okay just to break up whenever you want to go do shit with someone else. Apparently she said that they could do stuff if we broke up, but I ended up finding out that she does this to all of her little brother's friends.
Tender touch, drum glove, staying up, just talk to you. You stayed in touch, 2 continents, through all odds. Seems every night, yeah, all the time I'm calling out.
story time about how my husband is bullying me into getting plastic surgery. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. I repeat, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. I'm in my early 20s and we just had a baby. We're really well off, thankfully, and we have a wonderful life. All things considered, I do have a wonderful husband. He loves me, always wants to be with me, loves our daughter, and is a wonderful dad to her. He's super caring and loves my family as well. The only problem is that he's addicted to Instagram, and he follows a lot of girls that, look fake. One day he started showing me pictures of this one girl. I will not say who she is, but just know that she's a very big influencer who claims to be all natural and totally is not. He asked me if I wanted to get some work done after I had the baby. I told him no because that wasn't even a priority of mine. I was more worried about having our daughter and taking care of her when she was first born. That's when he suggested that I should do what Kylie Jenner did. Kylie Jenner supposedly had her baby and directly after she got her stuff done. I laughed off the idea and he said, "I'm serious." You see, I thought he was joking. I asked him why he wanted me to get that done. He confessed he was afraid that my body was going to look completely different than when we first met. I was shocked because, you're in love with me, not with my body. After I had the baby, he made an appointment with me at a plastic surgeon. Part 2 is up. Telling me my husband made an appointment at a plastic surgeon for me. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I had told him so many times that I did not want work done on me. I told him I wouldn't go to the appointment. Then he told me that he wanted me to look like the girls on Instagram and that he needed my body to look like it did before the baby. I was shocked. My husband had never been like this before, but his addiction to Instagram was getting that bad. He pulled out his phone and started showing me pictures of girls on Instagram. I told him those were highly edited pictures and he said I don't care. He told me that he probably wouldn't be attracted to me anymore and that's why I needed to get all the work done on my body. I told him that I would never ask him to do anything surgical to his body for my benefit. And he told me that if I had asked him, he would do it in a heartbeat. Then he actually started showing me pictures of Kylie Jenner and Kim Kardashian. He told me that he knew who their doctor was and that I could go to that same doctor. I was more than shocked. I felt sick to my stomach. For those of you who may be wondering, my husband and his family own a very big company. He was born into money. For him, you can buy anything in the world. As the weeks passed by, he kept getting more irritated that I wouldn't say yes. One day he showed me a picture of me that he edited of me to look like Kim Kardashian. Part 3 is up. My husband insisted that I look like Kim Kardashian. Actually even went ahead and edited a picture of me in the shape of Kim Kardashian. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. I started to cry instantly and I told him I did not want to get any surgery. He backed off because he knew he hurt my feelings, but just the following day he asked me again. At this point, I didn't know how else to say no. A few days later, we were having a peaceful lunch and suddenly out of nowhere, he asked me what I would do if he found someone that did look like Kim Kardashian. I told him that I would straight up divorce him and that he would never see our daughter again. That's when he got up from the table and left. He basically gave me the silent treatment for 2 days. Finally, I told him that I would not get surgery, but that he could get me a personal trainer to work out. He said that that wasn't enough. Once again, he asked for me to consider it. 2 days ago when I got home, he ordered me a bunch of clothes from Skims. He asked me to try it on, and when I did, he said that I didn't look that bad, but that he still thought I should get some work done. He also told me I should get a tan. At this point, I just don't know what to do. I started a new diet in efforts to lose weight, and I'm working out my butt like crazy. I will never look like Kim Kardashian or Kylie Jenner though. Should I just cave in and get the work done? Or should I just tell my husband no and suffer the consequences? I feel absolutely hopeless.
My friend's parents are horrible with technology, and she was helping them with their iPhones at one point, and she set up Find My Friends and shared their location with her so she can track them at all times, but now vice versa, and they don't know that this is happening to them. So she keeps tabs on her parents, and on her wedding day, they were late to the rehearsal dinner, and she was really upset because when she checked their location, they were still at the hotel. And so she called her mom, and she said, "Why are you late? This is really important to me. I'm really upset with you." And her mom said, "Honey, I don't know why you're so mad. We left the hotel a long time ago. We're only 5 minutes away." And my friend was so frustrated because she knew she was being lied to, but there was no way for her to tell her mother that she knew that she was lying without telling her mother that her iPhone had been compromised. My little sister called me while I was driving, so at the end of the conversation, she said, "Drive safe, don't die." And for some reason, I was like, "What if I did?" And she said, "Excuse me?" And I said, "What if this was the last time you ever got to talk to me, and then there was a tragic accident, and that was it? What would you do?" And I was fishing for some last words of some kind from her, but instead, she immediately said, "Oh, I would dye my hair blonde and then go on American Idol as you. I'd assume your identity, and that way I could have a music career as you, but then I could be myself when I wanted a private life. I could be like Hannah Montana, and then when I wanted to retire, I would just go back to being me all the time." And my problem with her answer was that it was so fast. She didn't take time. She wasn't like, ooh, let me think about that and then come up with it. This was a premeditated plan. I said, what would happen if I died today? And she said, don't worry. I've already thought about how I could profit off of your potential death. And now I just I don't want to have sleepovers with her anymore.
Story time about how I accidentally waterboarded myself at the gym. I was feeling dizzy before a workout as I was a bit dehydrated. Usually I go to McDonald's and grab a large unsweet iced tea for the gym. It's better than coffee, wakes me up for the workout, and it's only $1, but I hadn't done that on this day. That was my first screw up. In my slight lightheadedness, I decided to get some water from the fountain in the middle of the workout. Screw up number 2. After an hour on the treadmill, my throat starts to stick a little. I had my mask on and was doing a slow jog about 7 miles per hour, just enough for me to breathe through the mask and didn't have to remove it once during the hour spent on the machine. I hop off the treadmill and the first feeling I get is a rush of blood running away from my brain. It only lasted a second, but anyone getting up too fast from sitting or squatting a long time will know the feeling. It's similar to the dizzy feeling when being drunk. This was a good time for that drink, but because of COVID, the fountains were turned off and you're supposed to bring your own water. Oops. Okay, whatever, I'll power through this. I was doing light weights that day anyway, it'll be fine. Screw up number 3. At the end, my shirt was very sweaty and I'm feeling very dizzy and lightheaded, but it passes. Anyone who's had that feeling would know it's actually a little euphoric, and a great end is a shower. This is also where I should point out that I'm in terrible COVID condition. My belly is huge and my mother pointed out that I looked pregnant when I went to open the fridge door without my shirt on. In my dehydration, I'm not drunk dizzy, but impaired enough to forget to take off my shirt and mask as I take my towel with me to the shower. There's no one else taking a shower as it was a pretty early workout, so I head to my usual stall by habit, which is close to the entrance. I turn on the shower and let the water hit my chest. The feeling is amazing. I'm still in my sweaty shirt and decide to take it off, with my mask still on. The shirt sticks to my skin and rotund belly, making it very hard to remove. Now both my arms are up and the shirt is stuck to my face with the mask, and the water is now filtering through the shirt and mask, blocking my nostrils. This is where I find out how horrible waterboarding is. However, that's not even the worst part. The wet mask and shirt make it instantly extremely hard to breathe as the nostrils are blocked. Instinct says to use my mouth, which is also blocked, and I start to hyperventilate, which sends water into the lungs and causes me to cough and panic. I take a few steps back with my arms still up and spin around to get away from the water. 2 very strong arms lift up my shirt and my mask with it, whereupon I'm confronted with 2 ebony pecs even the Rock would be envious of. Just below these godly pecs are abs of Hercules that puts my pear-shaped physique to shame. That's when the water decides to leave my lungs and I start hacking. Connected to this torso of discipline and genes of envy, I'm hacking spit onto the biggest wee-wee I've ever seen on this side of corn. The glorious footlong is inches from my face where previously only a Subway sandwich had been. The manliest of hands pat my back like a baby being burped. Through tears and embarrassment, we both realize there's a third person that just walked in. Me bent over coughing in the heat from this giant schlong caressing my face. Said person turns on his heels and nopes out. I utter some thanks to my savior and we both decide it's best not to talk about it and finish our showers. Mine was the shortest shower I'd ever had. I rushed to dress and possibly find the third person to hopefully explain, but he was gone by then. On my way out, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose Johnson was inches away from my face, was done with his shower. He has a look of don't say anything, but I spend a few minutes with him thanking him as he's getting dried and dressed. He seems cool with it, I think, but I haven't been back in weeks. I adopted my dog Tank when I was 20. He had minor issues like leash walking and prey drive. Issues that I fixed. This dog is a saint, never bit anyone or shown any aggression. He's very well trained and now he's 5 years old and 60 pounds. My boyfriend and I live in an apartment with my dog. We moved in together last year, but we've been dating for 4 years. In December, my boyfriend's mom invited herself to come visit us in the summer. Now when she decided this, we were under the impression that she would stay at a hotel or something. We live in a small, really small 2-bedroom apartment, but we use the second room as a shared office space. But whatever, we'll deal. We can throw in a bed and move the room around. However, 3 weeks ago, she was talking to my boyfriend saying she would be staying for 2 weeks because she wanted to sightsee and because she really wanted to be with us. I could tell he was happy about this because he misses her and doesn't get to see her a lot because we live so far away from her. I wasn't going to argue with it because I know it makes him happy. However, then she called again last week. She told my boyfriend that she wouldn't feel comfortable if Tank was in the apartment with her because he's big and you can't trust dogs like that. She said she didn't feel comfortable with his size or breed. Also that he could be unpredictable because I got him a yearish old and don't know about his past. She asked my boyfriend if he would have my dog boarded the whole time while she was there. He brought it up 3 days ago and I immediately said no. He asked me if I would think about it and I said no again. Now he's angry with me. I'm fine with everything else, but I draw the line at leaving Tank in a boarding facility for 2 weeks straight. I've never done something like that with him. I don't want to risk anything. I even looked into it just at the pricing and it's too expensive. This is his home and he deserves to stay here. I've never had a problem with her before, but this is ridiculous. She's never met Tank in person before and she gets a lot of pictures and videos of him. When we video chat her, sometimes he joins in. She's never said anything about her concerns before. He isn't a bad dog, but she doesn't want him at the apartment at all while she's there. Am I the asshole because I won't board Tank while she visits? After about a week of silence, waiting for each other to bring this up, I bypassed my boyfriend and went to his mom. I reached out and talked about her feelings for Tank. It started out pleasant. Then I told her BF said that she wanted my dog boarded. I asked why she didn't feel comfortable with Tank. Her direct quote was, "You don't know what his past is. He's big and unpredictable and I don't want to be staying with that. It would be different if you knew, but you don't. I just don't feel comfortable sharing a space with a dog that may attack me for going to pee in the middle of the night or grabbing a cup of water." I was angry and didn't want to scream to make her upset, so I said very politely, "If you don't feel comfortable living with Tank for 2 weeks, even though your own son has been since August, you can stay in a hotel while you visit." And I hung up on her. My boyfriend got home a few hours later and was angry because I talked to her, made her upset, and then hung up on her. Now she thinks I hate her. He said I wasn't being fair to her. I asked why he wanted me to board Tank so badly. He knows he wouldn't attack her or do anything aggressive towards her. All he had to say was boiled down to, can't you just do it to make this whole thing easier? He's a dog. We argued at some point in circles. How Tank is a dog, he doesn't get rights in the apartment, and things got worse when I asked what would happen in the future if we were still together and she decided to visit when we were living in a house. He said that it would be different because we could put him in a room or something. So my dog has to be penalized for living in our home with us when your mom visits? When I adopted Tank, I took responsibility of taking care of him, making him my first priority, and treating him with respect as he is a living creature. I see him as I would a child. I do the same things for him as someone does for a child. He is family, 4 paws or not. I made a clear choice that night. While his mother may still be visiting whenever it is safe to do so, it won't be in this apartment. We came to a truth. This and other things we talked about are big and can't be ignored. We realized we don't want the same things, and it's not something you can compromise on. So, this all started with what I thought would eventually be my future mother-in-law wanting me to board my dog, and ended up with me and my boyfriend mutually breaking up after 4 years of dating.
Most beautiful diamond. You've got the most beautiful diamond's eyes I've ever seen in my whole life. The skyline is jealous. I'm looking at you, how you shine.
Am I the asshole for not sharing my daughter's university fund with my stepson? My husband and I are a couple in our 40s. We've been married for 10 years now. We both have 17-year-old children, he a son with his ex-wife, and me a daughter from my husband who passed. When we married, we chose to keep a portion of our finances separate due to both having children already, previous real estate investments, and he having expenses like alimony and child support payments. We do combine our incomes for our mortgage and household expenses, our retirement, major purchases, etc. The college funds we have set up for our children have always been part of our separate finances, and as a result, neither of us have had terrible in-depth discussions with the other regarding the amount put into each child's fund. We do discuss what goes into them regarding tax returns, gifts from relatives, etc. I never expected both child's funds to be penny for penny equal, but I did expect them to be closer than what I recently discovered. Both children have now applied to, and both been accepted to university as it is their senior year. Now that a majority of scholarships are in, tuition and housing etc. are more concrete for each of their school options. We've started the specifics of the budget conversations. My daughter's college and graduation fund is worth roughly $150,000, while my stepson has approximately a $15,000 amount. Here is where the argument happened. With her scholarships, my daughter will have more than enough for undergraduate school and likely her graduate work as well, assuming she maintains her traditionally good grades. In fact, she'll likely have a good bit left over. Fine, I say. She can use it for a down payment on a home, whatever. After scholarships and the $15K from his dad, my stepson will still owe for undergrad. My husband feels like we should just combine the funds. When we married, we very specifically kept certain things separate, and this was one of them, so I can't help but feel unwilling to just scrap that and mix things together now. It doesn't feel fair or right, but my husband thinks it's an arsehole move not to give the kids the same thing. It's never been a problem when my stepson has had extras due to having another parent and household also contributing to his clothing, his car, his spending money, etc. But now suddenly we have to be even. And just to be clear, being even actually means giving my stepson even more of the money due to the fact that my daughter's scholarships are more comprehensive. The kids are close, and I'm sure my stepson will realize there's a difference in university money, but if my husband wanted to change things, I feel like this should have been brought up sooner than this. Am I the asshole? Edit to add, since it's been asked, my late husband was quite young when he passed, so there was nothing much to speak of in the way of an inheritance or life insurance. And yes, to reiterate, my husband and I did discuss this prior to marriage and agreed to keep the children's expenses as part of our separate accounts and finances. And now in the comments, not the asshole. Aside from the fact that he only wants to combine now because you have more money than him, why can't or isn't his son's other parent contributing? Sucks for the sons, but this is literally what his dad wanted, and you obliged. And OP says, I don't know what his mother will be contributing, but I can imagine it won't be much. She might surprise us all, but she's more of a spend now person than a save for later. I just want to say, please do not do anything to split the money now. A, your daughter has earned her scholarships. The fact that there will be excess money is due to her hard work. B, it sounds like she did without a lot. From not having a living second parent to not getting as much spending money and luxuries as a young teen. Don't penalize her for that now by taking what your sacrifices accumulated to. C, do not teach her that she has to sacrifice herself and her security to maintain a relationship with a man, her brother and father figure, or that her security and comfort shouldn't be her number one priority. And D, college is a tough transition for a lot of kids. She could lose those scholarships if she falters her first semester or if she figures out this isn't the right school for her. Taking from her funds now puts additional pressure on her to never have a misstep or change in heart, major, school, because her financial security is at stake. This is a hill to die on. I don't usually recommend to stop communicating in a marriage, but this subject matter is closed. Agree with this 100%. You can't predict the future. Scholarships can be lost because of external things, not even just daughter not getting expected grades or changing schools. As funding can fall through, some scholarships are only for the first year and not future years, etc., etc. Don't give away her money because stepfather and ex-wife didn't plan accordingly. Not the asshole. It's not fair your daughter has more college money, huh? Well, it's also not fair that your stepson still has 2 living parents to help him. Your late husband can't do anything more for his daughter than he's already done. He won't be at her graduations. He won't be able to congratulate her on getting her first real job. He'll never get to walk her down the aisle. If she ever has kids of her own, he'll never have the chance to bounce a grandbaby on his knee, or tell his adult daughter how proud he is of the incredible young woman she's become. Money can't replace any of that, but if it makes the start of her young adult life a little easier, it is a small consolation. This is a wonderful take, and I think the best answer. Your daughter has no living dad, only money. I bet she'd give all of it up in a heartbeat if it meant her birth dad could be back with her. I have no living parents, and I would, so I'm going off of that. But that isn't a choice she has. She does have his gift, though, that he left for her. It sounds like the entirety of the savings was due to OP, rather than an inheritance or life insurance payment from the dad. I agree that money is a poor substitute for losing a loved one, but I definitely think the mum deserves the credit here. No assholes here. The asshole here is the cost of college. Edit, I definitely see how the husband is being an asshole here. My visceral reaction was it sucks that these 2 children are put in this position because of the insane prices of college. It is absolutely not okay for the husband to ask for some of his stepdaughter's money. And OP says, not incorrect. And now on to the update. First of all, thank you to the literally thousands of people who responded to my original post. I'm not exactly sure what struck such a deep nerve with this subreddit, but I appreciate everyone who took the time to throw in their 2 cents. When I originally posted, my husband's reaction was still pretty gut, and since then, we've had a few days to talk things through. As I suspected, my husband's problem was never the fact that he only has $15,000 in my stepson's fund, just that by comparison, my daughter's graduation gift is so much larger. In my husband's mind, the money he would be handing to his son would be a graduation gift to be used towards college, but also other things, and that if my stepson needed additional help in the way of loans or financing, we would cross those individual bridges as they came. The way he looked at it, handing a kid a check for $15K is huge. He was just suddenly blown out of the water by how much my daughter's gift will look like next to it. Anyway, we'll not be pulling the accounts. We clarified that any tuition money we spend on the kids moving forward will come from our shared funds and will go equally toward each kid. Basically, if we gift stepson $1,000, we also put that amount in my daughter's account. If we loan either of them money, that's up to them individually to arrange with us. We let the kids know that their accounts are different, and that a lot of the discrepancy in funds is due to the fact that all of my daughter's gifts from family and her other resources, etc., have been pooled into our account already, whereas my stepson still has his mother and other extended family members gifting and contributing at the time of the graduation and as he goes. That is obviously not fully the case, but it helps speak to how aggressively each of us biological parents invested and looked ahead. The kids know that this has long been the case, as my daughter's biological side of the family is quite small compared to my stepson's side of the family, where there are 20 times easily the amount of relatives. The kids are all good. My husband and I are all good. No one will be drowning in college debt, as some other comments on the OP feared. We just needed to have a talk about things. Thanks again, everyone, for all the different perspectives. And now in the comments, if 15k seems that much to him, you might want to check your retirement plans and work something out. 15k would not cover 1 year of school at my university with an in-state discount. And OP says, I think people are confused, assuming that my husband intended this to be a full ride, cover absolutely everything for his college fund. It was designed to be a good head start, and that it is. Okay, so let me see if I understood. The 15k are not a college fund, they're only a kind of kickstart into adult life, but your husband is still going to pay for his college. And OP replies, the graduation gifts are meant to be a kickstart into adult life, yes. Part of the next steps into the kids' adult lives is university, so I'm sure a lion's share of what they choose to spend that money on will be education. As far as what will be given to the kids for college, etc., beyond their graduation gifts, that will come on a case-by-case basis. Example, not all of their scholarships and grants, etc. are finalized yet, nor are their living arrangements for the freshman year. Once we have a budget, we will sit down and determine what we need to do to help or to loan or what have you. Wow, you are getting the shaft here and are being strong-armed into paying for your half of your stepson's college after you already have saved enough to pay for your daughter's entire college years. You were the responsible parent and saved up for your daughter's future, and your husband was irresponsible and did not save up for his son. Now, the husband wants to share the cost of tuition for both kids, even though your daughter's college is 100% already paid for. You have been manipulated to end up paying for half of your stepson's college expenses from here going forward. How can you not see what the crap end of the deal your husband has forced upon you? Even if your husband and you agreed to give evenly from here on out, just wait until your husband claims that he can't afford to do that, and you and him will end up contributing only to the stepson's account. And OP replies, who's being strong-armed? And no, I'm not paying for half of my stepson's university. The agreement is simply that if or when we give money to one kid, we'll give an equal amount to the other. Anyway, let's get away from that dumpster fire, and our next post is titled, Would I be the arsehole if I insisted on taking our dog on a snow trip when my partner doesn't want the dog to come? My 43 female family is planning a trip to the mountains with 2 other families. It's been snowing a ton, so we're all really excited. My husband, 43 male, doesn't want our dog, a 1-year-old shepherd, to come with us. His reasons are, it'll be too cold to take her out for potty breaks, she's still a puppy but also pretty big, 75 pounds, so it can be a little overwhelming for people when she gets excited, and one of the people on the trip isn't really a dog person, though that person has a dog that is also coming on the trip. My reasons for insisting on the dog coming are, we got this dog with the goal of having her go on trips like this with us. She is a puppy and will obviously engage in puppy behavior. These are learning opportunities for her, and each of the other families will bring their dogs. 3 dogs total, but they're all under 15 pounds. Our dog is a sweet, gentle giant, but she is obviously big and does have a lot of puppy energy. I don't doubt that she will be annoying during the trip, but she can't get better in these situations unless she is exposed to them. Admittedly, I'm also pushing back on the idea of not taking her because my husband gets impatient with activities that require any initial effort, and he gets anxious when things get a bit chaotic. So, would I be the asshole if I insist on taking the dog? He says if I do insist, I'll have to handle all dog-related things on the trip, which I don't think is fair because we both envisioned this dog being an active part of our lives, and that requires exactly this type of training. Edit to add, answers to common questions. My dog is a year old, has been through 2 basic training courses, and is currently working with a private trainer specializing in shepherds. She's great, but she still has puppy energy and gets excited easily. We both agreed she would be highly involved in our lives. We were especially excited about taking her to the snow. Of the 3 other dogs, 2 are also puppies. My dog is BFFs with one of them. She hasn't met the other 2 yet. And if we don't take her, I have someone who can house sit. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I may be the arsehole because he may be right that the juice is not worth the squeeze, but I think I'm biased against his opinions because I feel like he's putting his laziness and anxiety ahead of the best interest of the dog and our shared goals for our family. Now in the comments, 3 other dogs total, but they're all under 15 pounds. Ours is a sweet, gentle giant, but she's obviously big and has a lot of puppy energy. You are going to have to watch her like a hawk. I can believe she would not purposely hurt another dog, but she will be trying to play and is at least 4 times their size. That could be trouble. Also, consider the rest of your friends and the vacation that they want. A giant dog, still a puppy, that is a lot. It would be one thing if you were literally training a service dog, as they do need experiences like this. Your dog, however, doesn't need to be going on group trips until they are trained and well behaved. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. Why keep pushing the matter if he's already said that he didn't want to do it? Because she wants to spite her husband and force him to train the puppy in this new situation that he will find anxiety-inducing. You're the asshole. I have a shepherd, and I'm assuming you don't know how well he gets on with the other dogs that will be there, unless they've met, which it doesn't sound like they have. Let me tell you, that alone has the potential of ruining your entire trip. Not just yours, but more importantly, everyone else's. I think it would be selfish of you to bring him for the sake of everyone else involved. Yeah, but the whole idea is to socialize the dog. I understand what the idea is. My point is that doing it on a vacation with other people is not a great time because it has the potential to ruin everyone's vacation that didn't sign up for a dog. Look, I feel for you because I love dogs and romping around in the snow with a giant puppy sounds like an awesome time to me. But between your husband's anxiety and the 3 tiny dogs, this just doesn't seem like it's going to work. Find a great dog sitter and pick a different battle. You're the asshole. And now, on to the update. After reading everyone's comments and realizing I was not only not taking into consideration my husband's legitimate concerns and interest in having a stress-free vacation, I was also not considering the comfort level of the other guests. So I accepted the judgment and agreed to keep the dog home with our pet sitter. Husband was happy. The problem is that the pet sitter bailed last minute, so we had to take the dog. And you know what? She was perfect. She got along wonderfully with the other dogs and kids, she stayed out of everyone's way. In fact, she stayed outside in the snow most of the time. And she loved on everyone just enough without being annoying. All the other guests were fawning over her, asking where they can get a dog like her, and volunteering to dog sit if we ever needed it. I loved taking her on walks and exploring with her. I found an open field nearby, and she was literally frolicking in the snow. And my husband, you ask? Well, he helped take care of her, took her on walks, etc. He was so proud of her and kept saying, "She's doing fantastic." So thanks to everyone for their comments. I agreed I was the asshole, and after being forced into this situation, husband agreed that the dog did need that experience, and she exceeded our, and especially his, expectations. He is now excited to take her on future trips. And now in the comments, what a sweetheart. I thought you were not the asshole, as I didn't see the post up until now, because socializing is so important for puppies to learn the hierarchy. Plus, you had already agreed to be the handler for the vacation. Glad it worked out. I would say at the very least, no assholes here, because other people were bringing their dogs. Reminds me of those camping trips with the guys stories, where it's no girlfriends allowed, but by the way, 2 of the guys are actually girlfriends, and it doesn't count because reasons. Too cold to let a shepherd out to pee is laughable. The 15-pound dogs are more likely to have problems being cold. I am so glad everything worked out for you. I read your original post and, to be honest, I didn't think you were the asshole for wanting to take her on the trip for a variety of reasons. 1, others were taking their dogs. 2, you and your husband got a dog with the intention of taking her on trips. And 3, there was a yard and facilities so the dog could run off energy. The other dogs may have been much smaller, but that does not mean that they would be more disruptive than a big dog. The size isn't always the issue, it is the temperament. So glad you guys had an awesome trip and your dog can be taken on all sorts of trips in the future. Smiley face.